Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. My friends, will you please join me for a minute and imagine how amazing you'd feel living the unique and distinct life that you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. That's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you it makes for a very happy life. And so can Dr. Ming Wang. He's my guest star today, and he's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance. But before I bring him on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank him for being our guest star today. We call the poem A Vision of Hope, The Journey of Dr. Ming Wang. And it goes like this. From China's shadow, a young man rose. With $50 and countless dreams, he chose to heal the blind and help them see a life of service, love, and destiny. Lasers and lenses, sight restored, for thousands blind, hope has soared. Through science, skill, and God's steady hand, he restored sight to thousands across the lands. Come hear his journey, bold and bright, a story of love, of purpose, of sight. On something significant, don't miss the call. Dr. Wang is a light, shining hope for all. Hey, Ming, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt.
Why don't you get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world?
Thank you for the opportunity, Matt, to be on your show. That purpose of life, what inspired us living a life of significance. For me these days, I principally focus on my time on two things. One is to continue run a medical clinic here in Nashville, Tennessee, that provides citizens in Tennessee and around neighboring states throughout the United States the state-of-art laser technology to restore eyesight for patients anywhere from age 18 to 107. We can treat all 5 human eye prescription conditions now: nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, presbyopia, the reading difficulty as we get older, and the cataract. And second part of my time is being spent on running our foundation, which is featured their stories of these blind orphan kids that we've been able to help over the past 20-some years, are featured in the film Sight, released by Angel Studios, and to continue push the research technology such as the amniotic membrane contact lens, which I've developed and donated to the world, the invention. And that technology, incidentally, has transformed the world today now, Matt, that eye doctors from nearly every nation are using it.
Wow.
Millions of patients have the eyesight restored. And so focus on helping those who need the most help, the blind orphan children, and focusing on providing the best technology that humankind has seen to enable all of us to see better and see longer.
That's awesome. And I did watch your film. It's great. And just explain, just give us a minute or two, if you can, on the idea of the amniotic fluid and the contact lens and your vision or your inspiration when you realize that babies in the womb, if they get injured, don't scar. Am I getting that right?
Yes. You know, speaking of significance of life, for me, a part of the purpose as human being is to find common ground in the polarizing forces in the world today, in a very divided world. In this case, the division between science and faith. We want to do research to help these blind orphan children restore their eyesight, to reduce the eye scarring, but at the same time, and by doing research on fetal tissues, but at the same time, we want to protect the life of fetus. Is it possible? Is a common ground between science and faith? Fortunately, I did not give up that pursuit. I kept on research, working with other scientists. Eventually, we discovered that perhaps we can use the placenta, the amniotic membrane that all of us used to be wrapped around before birth, and thinking that that membrane may give us, the unborn child, the ability to heal without scar. Long story short, I eventually developed the amniotic membrane contact lens. When we put it on injured patient eyes, we find indeed the eyes start regenerating as if it were not born and start heal without scar and eyesight restored.
That's so fantastic. Now, I'd like to share a few things with our audience that you might not bring up, but I just want you to explain what it was like meeting and treating the incomparable Dolly Parton. And more than that, when you accompanied her playing your, is it called a erhu,
Yes.
a Chinese violin on
Yes.
her album? So talk about meeting that brilliant flash of Dolly.
Yes. I performed eye surgeries on Dolly Parton many years ago, as I've done surgeries on many of those, stars like Ashley Judd, Nicole Kidman, and many others. And so one day, Dolly came into the eye clinic. He said, "Dr. Wang, I'm here not for my eyes. I'm here for music." I said, "Music?" He said, "Yeah. I heard you played this Ming Chinese little violin, erhu. Can you make music with me?" And I looked at this country music legend in front of me and I said, "You play with music with me?" And she said, "Yes." So she took me to a Blue Ocean studio here near Music Row. And she sang an old country song. And I played a Chinese violin, erhu. We literally have to compose the melody using this ancient Chinese violin because we don't know what melody an ancient Chinese instrument would have to accompany a country western song. And she sang a country western song. So at the end of the night, we composed, she sang, I played, we recorded. And it's out in the album, one of Dolly Parton's album called Those Were the Days. And you see all the list of the famous country stars, Alison Krauss and Dolly Parton, At the end, Ming Wang. So that's fun. It's an adventure of East and West.
That's great. And one more that I think our audience will really like is that you are a world champion amateur ballroom dancer. So tell us just a little bit about your dancing, and that will surprise our audience because here you are, this world famous surgeon, but you're doing other things, music and dance.
Yes, I have to learn dancing during China's Cultural Revolution when I was growing up, as depicted in the film Sight. I was not allowed to even go to high school, and I was going to be sent away to a labor camp for life, together with 20 million others during Cultural Revolution. So I had to learn dancing and playing instrument erhu just to survive, to avoid being sent away to labor camp. And now I continue that passion for dancing. I joined Harvard MIT when I was there, ballroom dance team. We won U.S. National Collegiate Championship. And now I combine that passion of dancing with our medical charity to help blind orphan children. And I created the concept called eyeball. When it comes to eyeball, you see beautiful dancing, but most importantly, that reminds you how precious our sight is as human beings and how much we need to help those who have lost sight.
Very, very good. Okay, now you've mentioned the movie, but you've also written a book. And so just give our audience a minute or so on the book and the movie, and then we'll move along.
The point of the book and the movie is this. You know, who appreciates sight the most? Those who used to be blind. Who appreciates freedom the most? Here we have in America today, are those who used to not have freedom. And Sight, the book and the movie, it's about someone who used to not have freedom, come to share with all of us here in America today how precious freedom is here in America and how much we need to appreciate that blessing, appreciate the freedom and faith, and be willing to work together to overcome our polarization in a divided nation, to find common ground once again.
Yes, sir. Amen. All right, Ming, now let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's a simple formula, but it's very powerful. It goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power that you need to get things done, whether it's physically or mentally or financially or spiritually or emotionally? In other words, Ming, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
My power principally comes from one place, because I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ, and Christ has given me the ability, the talent to do some of these surgeries to restore eyesight for many folks who have been living in blindness for years or decades. So I live for a moment when I'm able to remove the bandage after surgery and someone come out of darkness, such as you see in the film set. The young lady saw herself at age 15 for the first time. And she goes, I'm so pretty.
Yeah.
So how
Can you see yourself, Maria?
I'm so pretty.
power come from that excitement of that moment, their ability, their privilege to bring someone out of darkness into light by God's grace.
Beautiful. All right, Ming, now let's discuss my favorite power generating concept. And with your previous answer, it'll be interesting how you answer this one. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life is knowing there's always something I can do better tomorrow than today. And for me, it creates this optimistic, gentle, but very powerful and continuously uplifting of my life day after day after day. So, Dr. Ming, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
For me, probably the most powerful manifestation of this concept is I have learned to be happy, to be able to continue live a life of purpose, is to focus on the effort, not the result.
Yes, sir.
Because when we focus on result, there sometimes we get disappointed and we get depressed. We couldn't move on. And I have come to realize that the only thing that we as human beings have in full control is not the result, but our own effort.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I redefined my happiness many years ago from the traditional definition of happiness, which is the result. Whatever I'm doing, did it happen? To what effort? Whatever I'm doing, did I do my best? Then I discovered very interestingly, since I'm a human being like you and me, we want to be happy. So when I look back, I want to be happy. So if I focus on if I've done my best, since I do have largely in control of my effort, I end up to be happy most of the time because it doesn't matter whether I'm successful or not, I have done my best. So that's a positive loop and keep on going. So I discovered very soon that whatever I'm doing, I throw 99% my effort into it because when I want to afterwards go looking back, be happy about it by focusing on the effort, not the result.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There's a quote that reminds me of that concept. It says this: the days that I keep my gratitude higher than my expectations, those are really good days.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to purpose. That's the second element of our happy formula. And I've observed that major life transformations and those really big discoveries of purpose often sadly come through devastation, addiction, abuse, disease, oppression, death, disaster. Something awful strips a life to its core, resulting in a great big and often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So how about you, Ming? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the God-given purpose you were meant to live?
Yes, as depicted in the film Sight, Matt, when I was a teenager, grew up in China during Cultural Revolution, where for 10 years, from 1966 to 1976, the government shut down all universities and colleges of entire China for 10 years and forcefully deported to some of the poorest part of the country and condemned each one of us a life sentence of hard labor and poverty. So over 10 years of Cultural Revolution, by shutting down all universities and colleges of entire China, they sent away to labor camp for life, 20 million young people.
Goodness.
So in 1974, I was 14. I faced that deportation risk, and I was going to be sent away to labor camp, just like 20 million others. In order to avoid that devastating fate of being sent away to labor camp, that's how I picked up the Chinese violin erhu to play and learn to dance. Because if I could play instrument, learning dancing, I can get into government song and dance troupe, therefore avoid being sent away to labor camp. But that did not work, and government saw through that and seeing that I was learning instrument and dancing with an ulterior motive, really not for music dancing, but for the purpose to avoid being sent away to labor camp for life. So they stopped my music, instrument, and dancing learning. Then I was going to be sent away to labor camp for life. Right at that juncture, I got lucky. 1976 rolled around, Cultural Revolution in China ended. Government reopened all the colleges for the first time in 10 years. And my parents came home and said, you might be go back to school. I thought I'd never be able to hear that since I got kicked out after junior high at age 14, despite being a straight A student. So as you see in the film side, I have to work really hard, helped by my parents. Eventually was able to get into college in 1982 with $50 borrowed from a visiting American professor. You saw that in the film also. I came to America, even though I was nearly penniless, but I was happy. Why? Because I was free. So that experience had shaped my character, enabled me to develop the grit. And so I realized that obstacles, setbacks, is not in the way that we need to go around. Obstacle and setbacks are the way that we have to go through. Only by going through setbacks and obstacles like that can we have a chance to develop our character, develop our grit, and grow as a person. So setbacks is necessary for growth.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, thank you for that, Ming. Well, let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week-long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WITV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WITV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again. And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Dr. Ming Wang. He's a modern-day Renaissance man, applying his unique set of skills, knowledge, and experience to become a world-class and world-renowned eye surgeon, a philanthropist, a community activist, a champion amateur ballroom dancer, an author, a musician talented enough to accompany music legend Dolly Parton on her album, Those Were the Days. And if that weren't enough, this past summer, Angel Studios produced a movie based on his extraordinary life called Sight, that the critics and the audiences agree is one of the most inspiring stories of our time. Ming, I just love your story, and I agree with the critics that your movie and your life is truly inspiring. And I think you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It says that the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It says that science tells us that giving our time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway to discovering purpose and overcoming difficulties and finding fulfillment and meaning in life. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So what do you think, Ming? Has giving your time and talents and treasures been a pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting past difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into life?
Thank you, Matt, for the question. That after going through Cultural Revolution and in China and came here with nearly nothing, only $50 many years ago, and I was so blessed to have the opportunity to have freedom and also faith, discover Jesus Christ. And I've been trying to develop a sense of purpose. What is all their suffering, all their hard work is for? And I've come to realize that God want me to do 5 things as a purpose of living. Number one is to share what I have. That's why even though I myself had dual training in laser physics and medicine, I got 2 doctorate degree, one a PhD in laser physics, one MD from Harvard and MIT. I decided to share. So I published 10 textbooks about helping surgeons from around the world to improve their weak area, which is technology, because most of them had MD, but did not have the chance to get a PhD in laser physics. And today medicine is highly technically developed. And to share. And the second example here is I developed a amniotic membrane contact lens, which you saw in the film side. And I donated the patent to the world and put it online and went around the world, 20 years period, taught over 10,000 eye doctors how to use the technology. Today, amniotic membrane contact lens is a $5 billion industry worldwide.
Wow.
And millions of patients have had eyesight restored. Even though I did not make any money myself, but in the process that I realized that that's what God wanted me to do, is to share what I have. I'm so grateful as an immigrant who came to this country with nothing and have been able to be blessed with freedom and faith here in America. So to share. And second is to remember. I want to remember my cultural roots, my ethnicity, my birth country, China, and also at the same time embrace the present here in America and the future. Third is to progress human knowledge so that we can do research to develop the technology to improve the quality of lives. Such as example, I was doing research trying to help the blind orphan child Kajal in the film side and to reduce her eye scar. And I realized I can use the amniotic membrane, take advantage of fetal tissue without hurting the baby. So advanced science while protecting life at the same time. And in the process of progressing human knowledge, I found the number 4 purpose, which is to find the common ground in a very polarized, divided world based on our shared humanity. In this case, find the common ground between science and faith. Yes, we need both. Science gives you the tools, and faith, for me, faith in Christ gives me the purpose, what I'm going to use the tools for. So finally, the last 5 purposes is to help those who need the most help. That's why I developed the foundation to help blind orphan children from around the world. So these are 5 purposes: to share what we have, to remember our roots, to progress human knowledge, to find the common ground in the polarized world, and to help those who need the most help. And the ultimate inspiration behind these 5 specific purposes, to share, to remember, to progress, to find, and to help, is one inspiration. That is to do what I can as one human being to make the world a little better place to live.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And almost everything that you're talking about is it's not shining on you, it's shining on others. How can you use the gifts that you were given to make the world and other people have a better experience? And the science tells us that when we're doing that, when we're giving to others, it helps bring real meaning to our lives. And I can just see it in your eyes that, you know, how much meaning you're getting. So many people would say, how could you give away a $5 billion patent? But you're saying, no, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I feel good about it. And the joy that we feel from doing that's the 4th element of significance. Doing work that creates value for others confirms it. But there's something more to it than just the giving, Ming. I think it's when, at least I believe, when the real magic comes when you're giving to others, as you're talking about with your purpose, from being in your purpose, from doing what God is asking you to do. So what I'd like you to do, Ming, I think the audience and I would like to know how it makes you feel to be happily living your life and giving to others through the work you were put on this planet to do. And I think you can help us understand that by take the next few minutes. I'd like you to recall one of your 55,000 patients and try to take us there describe him or her to us, describe their blindness, what caused it, how bad was it, and then if you can, describe the feelings and the emotions of that patient when you finally took off the last of the bandages after surgery and recovery, and he or she could see, maybe for the first time ever, just take us there and explain to us the emotions that your patient feels.
Yes. I can talk about one patient. Actually, it's not in the movie, but in my book, Autobiography from Darkness to Sight. And movie Sight, as we mentioned, is being streamed now by Andrew Studios. I met this gentleman when he was 43 years old, Brett, and when he was 30, so 13 years ago, when he was injured in a huge explosion in a factory in St. Louis, Missouri. He got both side eye completely blinded with molten aluminum. And he was sent to several major medical centers throughout the United States, got dozens or so surgeries, and did not work. So he was in darkness forever. And then when he was about 35, 5 years later, he met a young lady, fell in love, have never seen her. They fell in love truly in spirit, and they got married, and Jackie. And so Jackie and Brett came to me when Brett was 8 years after that, at age 43, and referred to me by Washington University at St. Louis, Missouri. And I look at Brett, his eyes completely blind. He couldn't see anything, and he's accompanied by this beautiful, loving wife. And we start doing research, and inspired by God's grace and by my appreciation, really, what the life God has given me. We worked very hard. Eventually, I performed the world's first laser artificial cornea implantation. And I worked on Brett for 2 years, multiple surgeries. And then last surgery, we removed the bandage. And I sensed what Brett might be able to see. I don't know what God. In fact, we prayed just before I removed the bandage because I did not know if he would be able to say. Our prayer to God was, God, help us accept whatever your will. We removed the bandage, and then I pushed the Brett opened her eyes and looked around. It was a little bit confused. I pushed Jacqueline right in front of him. I said, "Look at who is this?" And he looked at her up and down. And he goes, "You're so beautiful," because he has never seen her. And it was amazing. We were all in tears. And I gave a mirror to Brett, and he looked into the mirror. Now, remember, last time he saw himself was 13 years ago. He looked at the mirror. He said, that's me. I actually have that recorded. His real voice was in the audiobook of my autobiography. And then something magic happened. They went home to St. Louis, and next trip come back, Jacqueline said, Brad, everything he saw, he was so fascinated like a child, because he goes, how come the TV was so thin now? Because 13 years ago, TV was pretty thick. And how come the car looked this way? I realized, you know what? It's like he's been sleeping in darkness for 13 years and woke up. The world has leaped forward all of a sudden by 13 years. So he did not experience the 13-year process, but he saw a sudden jump in the world 13 years ago to now. And what a unique experience, and what a privilege to help people come from darkness to light, for the first time.
It's beautiful. And you can just imagine his emotions.
Yes.
But also it was hers as well. She was there with you, right?
Yes.
And yours, you said you're all crying, and you're feeling this amazing moment in life. And Wang, that's what this show is all about, is finding that magic in each of our lives. And I believe it's available to all of us. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures that God's given to you, giving them is a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings profound joy to your life, but also to those around you. So it seems that giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So I know you're super smart, but I want to see if this new update to my formula expresses the exponential power of our happy formula. Doctor, see if this sounds right.
Yeah.
Power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes, I agree. Your power, purpose, give A, but you add giving, become A plus.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right, Ming, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and have you tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that comes into your mind, because we call this a lightning round. Here we go.
Okay.
This is from Viktor Frankl. He said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves.
Yeah, my reaction is indeed the only person I've learned that I can change is myself on this planet. So I focus on changing myself rather than try to change others.
Yeah, very good. This is from H. Jackson Brown, and he said, sometimes the heart sees what's invisible to the eyes.
Yes, I believe there are two kinds of sight: physical sight, which I'm involved in helping every day patients medically, but also there's emotional and spiritual sight, is to see a real purpose of what we're living for, and that's intangible, but insightful, emotional, and purposeful. So we need both kinds of sights.
Yes, yes, indeed. This is from Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 and 23, which says, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness.
Yes, and to me, that means that we tend to think, well, whatever we see is whatever it is. But what I come to realize is what you choose to see will change your life. Seeing is not as a passive process as we might think. Seeing is an active process. For example, a cup is half full. You can choose to look at the cup half empty and fixate it on differences. And however, you can change what you see by choose to see the half cup which is full, recognize how much in common we all have. So seeing is not a passive process, it's an active process of making a decision what you want to see.
Beautiful. This is a scene in the movie when your mom said, you are busy, Ming, you are busy, always busy. And you replied simply saying, people need my help.
Yes, because yes, I'm busy, but however, sometimes in life they have learned that sometimes we could busy doing this, busy doing that, and some kind of like a lost in the purpose. For a human being, there are three levels of our doing things: why we do it on the top, second, what we do in the middle, and the lowest point is how we do it. What, why, what, how. So yes, mom's saying that I'm very busy. The how, I'm doing this, doing that. To me, that is secondary. The most important is why I'm doing these. I'm trying to help and to make other human being happy as part of my purpose as a human being.
Yeah, beautiful. This one's from your mother. Apparently, she once said to you, Ming, we must be patient. Life is not always a straight line.
Yes, we tend to think that if I'm going to get from one place to another, and it has to be a pathway leading directly to it. Lots of time, in fact, more often than not, life leads to a sideways. And if we are myopic, nearsighted, I do surgery to correct nearsightedness. If we're nearsighted, we only see what's immediate in front of us. We may be distracted, discouraged, because we see the road is not going straight towards there, but kind of sideways. However, we need to recognize we need to overcome our myopia, overcome our nearsightedness to take a longer range view of our life, because local, temporary zigzag might happen, but ultimately, if you choose to do it, then eventually the road is leading in one overall direction. But my point here is you have to choose. You cannot be passive. Some people say, I couldn't do this, that the time is not right for this, and I did not have this situation that made up for me. My answer is that, did you really want to do it? If you want to do something, you may or may not be able to succeed in doing it. But if you really do not want to do it, you have zero chance to succeed.
Yeah. So I think you're saying that your mom was right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Life is not always straight lines.
So this one, I think you once said, or maybe you say, science is about what things are, and faith is about why things are.
Yes, people sometimes conflicting science and faith and thinking there's no common ground. On the surface, their argument may have some validity because science is about logical deducement of things, and the faith is about the emotional inner belief and the sense of purpose for life. And what I've discovered that both of them we needed. Science give us the tools. We have to have the science. We have to have genetic engineering, molecular biology, and computer AI. But science is necessary to have an uplifting life, but it's not sufficient.
Mm,
And you have to add science on top of it. Faith, for me, is a faith in Jesus Christ that give me a sense of purpose, what I'm going to use the science for. I went to school, Matt, for 31 years. I
wow.
got 2 doctorate degree, one in PhD, laser physics, one an MD from Harvard and MIT. So after 31 years of schooling, I was praying to God, what's my purpose? What is I'm going to do? And it was God that who gave me this idea that to use what I spent, hard-learned medical skill to help those who need the most help, which are blind, orphan children. So faith is the science necessary condition, and faith is a sufficient condition. Adding necessary and sufficient, then you can build a uplifting purpose for life.
Yeah, great. Can you try to explain to the audience? I'll try to remember this scene from the movie, but you were with maybe a professor in Harvard, and you were still just a total science man and not with Jesus yet. And he pointed across the street to a truck or a car and says, "Ming, what do you see?" Explain the meaning of that scene and what it meant to you, what he was trying to convey, and how you took it.
Some of you audience may have seen the movies God's Not Dead about 10 years ago. In that film, God's Not Dead, the Chinese student who went from atheist to a believer, that was me, inspired by my life story in the film God's Not Dead. So just like that student, I was an atheist when I came from China. And it was studying a human eye at Harvard Medical School when my atheist worldview got into crisis. I realized that eye is so complicated. It's just simply not possible it can form out of randomness as atheists believe. So I kept on asking professor question, and he took me out to lunch. He said, "Ming, what's across street?" I said, "That's a car." He said, "What's the difference between a car and a human eye?" As human eye is a lot more complicated. He said, "Okay, can you imagine a pile of random pieces of metal on the street form itself into a car?" I said, "No way." He then leaned over. He said, "How about human eye?" Right there in that moment, he opened the door in my life, making me realize that the reason the human eye being so complicated, but yet can form so beautifully, nearly most of the time, because most of us are born, we can see, is because it did not form out of randomness as atheists believe. It was formed with a purpose, and that purpose is for vision. So there's a creator behind it. So I realized that life is not just about science. Life is about science and faith. It's like the two sides of the same coin. Science gives us the tool, and the faith give us a purpose.
Yeah, that's great. All right, this one's from 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10. He said, "Each of us should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms."
Yes. It is very difficult as human being to be to part with what we have, material wealth, because after all, we work very hard in the competitive world, and we do need the material resources to live and to have a life. But what I've learned is that it depends on what you define as the purpose in life. I've learned that if I define my purpose of life, how much stuff I have, I could be temporarily happy, but that's too myopic, too nearsighted. I realized that I really want it for this purpose. I have the privilege to walk on this planet for a few decades, like all of us. And I want to be happy. And I realized that if I define my purpose for life is to be happy, I realize it has to be a combination of working hard for you, your family to provide, but also at the same time to share, because that sharing give you a psychological, emotional happiness that nothing else can actually produce that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Finally, this is our show anchor is from Goff, and he said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yes, it's interesting that we tend to think we cannot change the circumstance around us. But actually, I have come to realize that we are able to change the circumstance around us. For example, one may say, all of my friends, they are all complaining, they're not all happy, pessimistic about life. Well, guess what? It depends on you. If you're a type of person, when you face in a crossroad, you can do something, at least try, or you don't do something. If you try, even have 1% success, that's 1%. If you don't try, you have 0% chance of success. 1% is better than 0%. So if in every crossroad in your life, you choose the optimistic, the go ahead and try, give the best shot at it. And similarly, you end up choosing friends that who have similar a positive approach to life. And before long, you look around yourself, all of a sudden you find yourself, you're surrounded by a group of positive thinking friends. And you say, how did I change my circumstance? The friends around me. Well, you did, because who you want to be surrounding you with and what you want your life circumstance is, and you want your overall happiness and joy, it's up to you. It's a decision you make. If you want to stuck in looking at the cup is half empty and be depressed about it, or you choose to look at the cup that is half full and to be grateful about it.
Yep. So on one turn, you do your 1% here and you do your 1% there and another percent here. And the next thing you know, Dolly Parton's in your office saying, right. will you play music with me?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, very good. Okay, folks, now it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Dr. Ming Wang, please share a little love with our magnificent broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Ming, I love your dedication to helping people find common ground and solutions to problems in order to achieve more success and happiness. And I admire your inspirational journey of turning fear, poverty, persecution, and prejudice into healing and love for God and for our country and for everyone you meet. And I'm super happy that you've shared your determination, humility, and profound faith on our show today. Will you take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity today. What you're doing is so important. The power plus purpose plus giving give A+, happiness. People always ask me that what is the purpose of my writing the book and now turning to movie site? What is the message that relevant to America today? You see, the people who appreciate sight the most are those who used to be blind. People who appreciate freedom that here in America we have are those who used to not have freedom. Sight is a story of someone who used to not have freedom, come to share with all of us here in America how precious freedom is and how much we need to appreciate it. And then, we're living in an unprecedented, divided, polarized nation. And people say, is the polarization has to do with our lack of appreciation? Correct, exactly. It's like husband and wife. You have differences. If you don't appreciate what you have in marriage, you're more likely to yelling and shouting at each other. But given the same difference, if you do appreciate marriage, you're more willing to change your attitude and saying, honey, we're different on this thing, but don't we have so much else in common? So ladies and gentlemen, my thesis is this through the film Sight. The reason we are so polarized, so we're so unable to work across political aisles, racial divides, and ethnic divisions to solve the problems that we really need to solve as a nation, is because we've forgotten how blessed we are living in America, who always have freedom and faith we have taken for granted, something we always have. So Sight, the movie, is about reminding all of us we need to appreciate God's blessing, freedom, and faith by changing ourselves by being looking at the cup which is half full rather than keep fixated on the cup half empty. Because of grace of God, by the grace of God, we should be able to overcome our polarization, to find the common ground once again as a nation, to love this country and God above the interest of anything else.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Ming, and God bless you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Dr. Ming and reaching folks just like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Dr. Ming Wang. Find him, friend him, donate to his charities, the Wang Foundation for Sight Restoration and for Christian Outreach to China, and the Common Ground Network. And of course, buy his book, From Darkness to Sight, and watch his movie with your family and friends. It's truly an inspiring journey and a beautiful story. You'll find all the links in our show notes. From me to you, dear friends, I love you, and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and download our free mini but mighty ebook called Making Your Mark of Significance. And once you read the book, and it only takes about 30 minutes or so, then give some thought about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.